What's going on, guys? This is Trendkill, and welcome back to my character build guides for the wonderful game of Skyrim. Today we're going to be taking a look at the master build guides, and we're going to do this one a little bit differently considering there's really no definitive best master build. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this a several-part series, and we're going to talk about each of the different parts of character development and how you can use game mechanics to kind of make master difficulty more manageable. First things first, let's talk about what changes when you turn it up to master difficulty. The only change that happens is that the enemies do double damage to you, and you only do half damage to them. Other than that, there is no difference between Master and Novice. Understand that no other game mechanics are changed. Now, knowing that, what we can do is we can put several different classes together that utilize the most powerful mechanics in the game so that we can get beyond that damage deficit and actually still have no problem on Master. Take a look at my Let's Play, for example. Mystic Binding coupled with a bound bow greatly increases the damage that you do early on in the game. Therefore, we get beyond our damage deficit and we can actually play basically like there's no problem. Because of archery, the enemies aren't getting close enough to you to actually hit you, and you're doing so much damage that it's really a non-factor. Anyway, in part 1, let's take a look at the races. And when we look at race, we're not going to be looking at the initial skill bonuses because whether you start with an extra 10 points in destruction or 5 or 0, it's really not going to affect the late game all that much. Basically, once you get past level 10, your initial skill bonuses are irrelevant. So we're mainly going to be looking at the abilities and powers that they start with. Now, understand that most of the stuff we're going to talk about today is common knowledge. It's going to be all powers and abilities and which race is the best race and things like that. I would prefer that this is more of a forum. It's not just me telling you exactly who to pick, what race to be, and that's that. There is no one best race, but there are several good races that you should probably pick from. However, that does not mean that you cannot play on Master with a different race. So what I mean by forum is I'd like to see you guys making comments saying, well, I've had some luck playing with this race or this class or whatever, and I'd like that to continue through this series. So make sure we keep the comments positive. We go back and forth with each other and kind of discuss some stuff. All of the good points that are made that I don't make myself, I'll add as annotations later, and I'll credit the person who said it so that it doesn't look like I'm trying to take credit for it. But I kind of want to make this a collective of information, not just me saying, here you go, play with this class. Now, to get started, let's talk about the races that I think are probably the weakest races in the game, or the ones that have the worst abilities or powers. Again, we're ignoring initial skill bonuses, and we're just focusing on the racial powers themselves. So we've got Wood Elves, Dark Elves, Imperial, Khajiit, and Redguard that I think are basically, I don't want to use like the word worthless or unusable or not viable, because like I said before, you can use every type of race on Master. I just think there are certain races that are better. Let me explain myself real quick. Let me tell you why I don't think they are as good as some of the other races. If you look at the Wood Elf, they get a 50% resist to poison and disease and a power to command an animal. That's not going to help you in all that many situations. The Dunmer, or the Dark Elves, they get a 50% resist to fire, which is great because magic resistance on Master is very important. However, their power, Ancestor's Wrath, is not so good. It's basically going to cause 8 damage per second for 60 seconds to all of the enemies around you. The problem is, on Master, if you're surrounded by enemies and they're only taking 8 damage a second, they're going to be able to do more damage to you in that time frame than you are to them. Beyond that, what else did I say? Imperial luck, you're going to find more gold in chests. Well, if you've ever played as Imperial, you know that the gold that you're going to find more of is only going to be 5 to 10 gold more per chest. So you're not going to get enough money to really make that worth it, and their Voice of the Emperor, while being great as an oh shit button, is not really something that's going to be usable in every single dungeon. Then we've got Khajiit, which is unfortunately probably the worst race to play on Master difficulty. They've only got claw attacks, which is going to up the damage of your unarmed attacks, and their power is called Eye of the Night, which gives you night vision. Now, the only difference between their power and the other races is that their night vision can be used multiple times per day, but as far as the benefits of that, it really, I don't think, affects the game all that much at all. And last but not least, Redguard was the last one I mentioned, and they've got a 50% resist poison, which is worthless, and their power, Adrenaline Rush, is not bad. It's a 10 times regeneration of stamina for 60 seconds, but it's more of like I'm going to run away type thing. If you want to play a melee class, it's decent because you can just spam power attacks. However, Orcs double damage is just better. Now, moving on to the middle tier, or the races that I think are pretty decent on Master, but still not the best. You've got High Elf, Argonian, and Nord that I think fit into this tier, and I'll explain why. The High Elves get a 50-point bonus to their Magicka, as well as a power called Highborn. Now, the 50-point bonus to the Magicka is not great late game, but early on can be very, very helpful. The power Highborn is really where it's at. It's going to regenerate your Magicka at 10 times speed for a full minute. Basically meaning if you can afford to cast the spell, you're going to be able to really cast it indefinitely until that minute is up. So for mages, this is very, very good, especially when you couple this with the perk Impact. It makes you almost unstoppable for that full minute. Now understand also late game, if you're going to get into smithing and enchanting, this loses some of its value as well because you're going to be reducing the cost of your spells to the point where you're really not going to need to worry about mana anyway. So that's why I put these guys in the middle tier. The next class I mentioned was Argonian, and the reason I've got them in the middle group is because they have 3 abilities instead of the normal 2. However, 2 of them really aren't that useful at all. The first one is a 50% resistance to disease, which is okay. It's not going to help you on Master, though. The second one is they can breathe underwater. The third one is why they're in the middle tier. They get a power called Hist Skin, which allows their health to recover 10 times faster than normal for 60 seconds. Basically, what you can do with that is that you can go into any dungeon, pop that during the boss battle, and basically be immune to damage for a full minute. So it's really, really helpful for those melee-type classes. Anyway, the last race that we're going to take a look at in the middle tier is the Nord, and they have a 50% resistance to frost and a power called Battle Cry. Battle Cry makes all targets around you flee for 60 seconds. Now, the issue with this is that it's an area effect of 60 feet and counts everybody in that 60 feet as a target. So if you've got any non-follower type allies around, it will make them run and count as an attack, so you can actually get yourself in trouble with it. The great part about the Nord is the 50% frost resistance. On Master difficulty, if you're playing a melee class, you'll know that frost mages are absolute horse shit. They will slow you down, you can't get to them, they reduce your stamina so you can't power attack. They're just a pain in the ass. Plus on Master they do a lot of damage. Well, with the Nord Frost Resist, not only do you take half damage from frost spells, you also take half of the stamina reduction, so it actually works out 2 different ways, which actually makes them kind of decent. Okay, the last 2 classes, if you're paying attention at home, that we have yet to talk about are going to be in the top tier. Those 2 classes are Breton and Orc. Now let's talk about Orc for just a second. They only get 1 power, but that power is absolutely amazing. They get Berserker Rage, which allows them to take half damage and do double damage once per day for 60 seconds. Well, if you remember us talking about the difference between Adept and Master, Master difficulty makes it to where the enemy does double damage and you do half damage. So when you pop Berserker Rage on Master, that basically makes it like you're playing back on Adept for 60 seconds once per day. Doesn't really get much better than that. You're basically reducing the difficulty of the game once per day for a full minute. So if you think about it that way, that ability is absolutely great. And last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about Bretons. I personally think that Bretons are probably the best, if not one of the best races to play on Master difficulty. Simply because they get innately a 25% resistance to all magic. Now, we talked about the Dunmer get a 50% resistance to fire, and the Nord get a 50% resistance to frost, but the Breton get a 25% resistance to all magic, period. Now, the great thing about that is that if you go straight to the Lordstone, you'll get another 25% resistance to magic, and that will give you an innate 50% resistance to all incoming magic. Well, again, just like we talked about with the orcs, the enemies, specifically mages in this case, or magic casting enemies, I should say, are doing double damage to you. Well, if you've got a 50% resistance, they're technically not doing double damage, they're doing normal damage. So your incoming damage from mages or from dragons or dragon priests is just as if you were playing on Adept. Yeah, they may be harder to kill, but they're not going to be doing any more damage to you. So that about sums it up, guys. That's going to do it for part 1. To summarize real quick, let's go back over the list. In the crappy tier, or the bottom tier, or whatever you want to call it, we've got Bosmer, or Wood Elf. We've got Dunmer, or Dark Elf, Imperial, Khajiit, and Redguard. In the middle tier, I've got Altmer, or High Elf, Argonian, and Nord. And in the top tier, I've got Breton and Orc. Now, if you guys think that list is completely insane, then you guys got to leave me a comment. Prove to me what I did wrong. If I missed something or if I forgot to mention something, let me know. Any of the good information or any of the good arguments as to why I made a mistake on this, I will credit you in the video as an annotation, and we will amend this as it goes along. Again, I wanted to put just a master build together and say, go play the game, but you just can't do that because everybody wants to play differently. And if I put a master build together that's a mage, everybody's going to say, well, you can play melee. I play as a barbarian, or I play as an archer, or I play as a nightblade. All those classes are viable. There are just certain ways to play the game on Master that make it a little easier for you. So you guys come up with the ideas that are yours, and if they make sense to add into the video, by all means, I will add them. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, guys. This series is going to be a little longer than anticipated. It's not going to be a 2 or 3 part series. It's probably going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parts. I'm not sure. We're going to talk about every possible facet of Master that I can think of to talk about. If you guys have any ideas that you want to see, then that's what we'll talk about. We're going to talk about shouts and stones and weapons and tactics and skills and perks that are important. We're going to try to cover everything. So if you guys have something you specifically want me to cover on Master for a part of this series, then make sure you let me know and we will do it. So until next time, guys, until part 2, I'm going to get out of here. I'm also going to be putting up a Let's Play not too long from now. Hopefully, I'll have this out ASAP. I'm finished recording. I'm going to go back and try to figure out a way to edit it all together so it's not boring to watch. And we're going to start making some more videos. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. Bye.